While everybody is talking about Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, I believe the most important planet, especially during the 4 degrees activation that everybody has been talking about, I believe the most important planet in this configuration is Chiron. Why? Why Chiron? Because Chiron isn't just another planet. Chiron isn't just another transits that's happening, participating in this pattern. It's actually, for me, when I look at it, it's the point of activation. And I'm going to explain why. When I looked at the chart, I didn't just see the cradle that everybody is discussing. One half of the zodiac wheel is filled with possibility, and the other half still waiting to be lived and activated. For many women in midlife, the image is extremely significant. The first half of our life have been already written. The question is, what will shape the next half of our life? I believe the answer begins with Chiron, because Chiron is an asteroid. It's not just an asteroid. Chiron represents our wounds, the wounds that we came in this lifetime to heal. Not only your personal wounds, but also your inherited wounds, the generational traumas wounds. Chiron, at this time in life, right now in the transits, because of the transit that it's forming, it just moved to Taurus at 0 degrees, but it's activating all the outer planets I just mentioned. It's actually asking us to heal one of the oldest wounds women ever carried in history. It's the inherited wound of not having enough, the scarcity wound, the ones that talks about the most important themes, the safety theme, the one that we have been inheriting and have inherited from our parents and their parents and our grandparents and our grandparents, the one that goes back to the beginning of humanity, that believed that resources are limited, that we might not have enough. This is the one that is, those transits are asking us to heal at this moment. What fascinates me is that this isn't a single transit, it's a timeline. We have been talking about this rare cradle pattern between Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and now Jupiter, the breakthrough, the innovation, the collective changes ahead. When I looked at this chart, my eyes didn't only go to the transits, which is an amazing and a very important activation point forming this cradle. I also saw a bow. Yes, there is the cradle between those amazing outer planets, but there is the bigger picture. This is the cradle. And there is the bowel, which is part of the cradle and more. And Chiron is the center of this bowel, connecting all the other planets in this bowel together. Now, that puts half of the planets alive with energy on one part, on one side of the zodiac signs, while the other half is almost empty, completely empty. And I couldn't stop asking myself, what if this isn't only showing us what's happening in the world at this time? What if it's actually showing us, women in midlife, exactly where we are in life right now? Because by midlife, most women have spent decades filling their bowl, filling their responsibilities with raising kids, with building careers, with caring for aging parents, with holding everything together, relationships together, with giving, with sacrificing, with surviving. For years, life have been about making sure everybody else has enough love, enough support, enough stability, enough security. Then something shifts. The children become independent, the relationship change or end, careers evolve for the first time in decades. There is a space, and life is asking us a new question. What will you choose to fill this next chapter with? When I look at this chart, I don't see an empty bowl on one side, and I see a bowl waiting to be filled consciously, because my eyes go to the very top of the chart. Not Jupiter, even though Jupiter is there with all its confidence, enthusiasm in Leo. Jupiter is the king in July. Jupiter is the star. Not Pluto, with all the power and transformation Pluto is known for, the changes that are shaking and shifting our life right now. Not Neptune in Aries with all its inspirations and new beginnings. new vision in life, not even Uranus with all its unexpected innovations and promises and new technologies and discoveries and new ways of thinking and learning in Gemini. These are all great, and I'm not undermining the power and the very important role that they're playing in our lives right now. But I look at Chiron because the entire pattern seems to point towards Chiron. What Chiron asks, the question that comes before all of this, what are you still afraid won't be enough? This is a very important question because Chiron just shifted to Taurus from Aries and it will stay there for another 7 years. Yes, it will go back into Aries for a little while to finish the lessons and the last degrees, and then it will move to Taurus for good for another 7 years. And in total, it's about 8 years. So it's Taurus is about what we value, self-worth, resources. Many women, the deepest wound isn't simply self-worth, it's scarcity, the fear that there won't be enough money, enough security, enough support, enough time, enough energy, enough opportunities, enough for you to support you in the next chapters and the next half of your life. Well, these fears didn't begin with us. Many of this, we have inherited them from mothers who sacrificed everything, from grandmothers who had no financial independence, from generations of women who have learned that safety meant staying quiet, staying small, putting everybody else's needs before their own. These are survival strategies, made sense at that time because they had to survive. They were survival mechanisms that help previous generations survive, but they are not meant to become the blueprint of the second half of your life. Perhaps this is why Chiron sits at the top of this extraordinary pattern, because before we can fully activate the energy of Jupiter and receive its intention for us to grow and shine and be fully where how we want to live, before we can even embrace Pluto's transformation or live Neptune's vision or Uranus' new possibilities, I think we've been asked to heal the wound beneath them all. So the belief that life is limited, that resources are scarce, that safety only comes through sacrifice, that there isn't enough for you. This isn't about pretending that fear doesn't exist. It's about recognizing when an old survival story is making today's decisions for you. The bowl is not empty, because you have lost your purpose, with many women in midlife feel at some point, especially those who experience midlife changes such as empty nests or going through relationship changes or career shifts or anything that shifts their whole entire life. The bowl is empty because life has made room for something new. But what you place in this space depends on the story you are living from. Will you fill it with the same fears that you have carried for decades, that you have inherited from many generations with not having enough? Or will you begin filling it with trust, with choice, with self-respect, with true security that comes from within? With a new definition of abundance that isn't measured by how much you sacrifice or how much even you have, but how fully you allow yourself to live. Maybe this is the real activation point of this chart, because healing the scarcity wound might be the key that unlocks everything else. Instead of asking yourself, what is this astrology going to bring in my life? We need to ask a different question. We need to ask, where am I still living from inherited scarcity? And what becomes possible when I finally believe there is enough for me too in this world. So how do you build Taurus from inside instead of chasing it outside of yourself? Taurus is not just about money. Taurus is your inner stability. For decades, many women build safety externally through marriage, through career, through being indispensable, through taking care of everybody else, through having a plan for everybody else. But things can all disappear as life changes, and we know that. Chiron says, if your safety depends entirely on something outside of you, then you will never truly heal or feel safe. So what does healing actually look like? Redefine what security means. This is number one. Most women inherited a definition of security that sounded like, if everybody else is okay, then I'll be okay. But this isn't security, this is responsibility. Real security asks, can I trust myself to meet whatever life brings? Now, the shift is no longer, will life protect me? The shift is, can I trust myself to respond to life? This is a completely different nervous system. Now, the second step is stop confusing scarcity with reality. Because scarcity is an old story running in the background, automated voice that comes from inherited pattern. We keep hearing ourselves saying, I can't spend that. I can't invest in myself. I can't have this. I need to keep everybody healthy first. What if I run out of resources? These thoughts might feel practical, but sometimes they are echoes of survival mechanisms, of strategies learned a long time ago. Healing begins by asking, is this decision coming from today's reality or yesterday's fear? So that's very important. The third step is build tangible security. What I mean by this is where I think many spiritual messages miss the mark, because women don't heal scarcity by pretending money doesn't matter. Manifestation is real, and I believe in it, but it doesn't happen only by wishing or ignoring reality. Taurus is an earth sign, and Taurus is practical. So Chiron in Taurus is giving us the road to healing, which include understanding your finances, learning about investing, creating multiple income streams, simplifying your life, asking for help when needed, developing new skills that increase your independence. And on top of all this, trust yourself. Trust your worth. Trust that you know that you are worthy enough, and allow yourself to feel safe. Every practical step tells your nervous system that you are safer today than you have ever been before. So that is Chiron in Taurus. And the most important thing is learn how to receive. Many women know how to give, but fewer of us know how to receive without feeling guilty. Because receiving isn't weakness, it's allowing support, opportunities, love, rest, generosity, joy, without feeling that you have to earn it first. Very important. You don't have to earn all that. And this is a very important lesson that we need to learn and grow into, to allow ourselves to receive without the need to earn it. Let enough become a feeling before it becomes a number. This to me is the deepest lesson, because there will always be someone with more things than you, more money, more success, more recognition, more. If enough is always outside of you, you will never arrive at the healing point that Chiron is trying to bring you at this point. At some point, Chiron in Taurus is asking you, can you feel grateful, grounded, and feeling safe with what you have while still creating more if you need more? That's abundance. Not because your bank account magically changes overnight, because your relationship with abundance changes. You will feel you have enough. You don't need more. When all your physical needs and financial needs are met, this is called fulfillment, without the fear of the need to save more for tomorrow. Because of the fear of what if. This is the old inherited pattern. I'm not saying not to save or care for the future. I'm saying the lesson is to learn how to live in abundance in the current moment without the fear of scarcity for tomorrow, while still planning for tomorrow, but from an abundance mentality, not from feeling safe to live in the freedom, not fear or scarcity. Maybe healing the scarcity wound doesn't mean you will never worry or never want money again. It doesn't mean life will never be uncertain. Maybe it means something much more powerful. It means you stop making every decision from fear. You stop believing that your value depends on what you produce or give to others. You stop believing that you have to carry everybody else to deserve your place in this society. You build practical security where you can, and ask for help when you need it, and learn new skills, and trust your wisdom, and slowly something will change. The bowl that once felt empty begins to fill, not because someone else fills it for you, but because you finally believe you are capable of filling it yourself. This might be Chiron's greatest gift, not that it removes uncertainty, but it teaches you that safety no longer something that you spend your life chasing. It becomes something inside of you. Well, this beautiful thing about astrology, that it doesn't remove our free will. It reveals the seasons. Not every woman will experience these transits in the same way, but the women who choose to work consciously with them may discover something new. The real security isn't built by clinging to old strategies inherited from the past. It's built by healing the scarcity story that no longer belongs to you. Perhaps that's why Chiron sits at the top of the pattern as a driver to the next season of your life. And also to remind you that quality of the future we build depends on the wounds that we have been willing to heal today. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated for you, please consider like, subscribe, and share, and see you in the next video.